You think she left because she fell out of love? No, she left because she stopped feeling your strength. And before you argue with that, pause and ask yourself a harder question. When was the last time she looked at me with admiration, not obligation? Because here's the truth most men never hear until it's too late. Every relationship has a hidden economy. Power and respect are the currency, and the second you stop leading, you start losing value. Quietly, slowly, invisibly. It doesn't matter how much you provide, protect, or please. A woman's attraction isn't kept alive by your effort. It's kept alive by your energy. Once she senses weakness, indecision, or emotional passivity, attraction doesn't decline, it dies. Welcome back to Dark Psychology. My name is Amelia, and in this video, I'm exposing the 10 most dangerous relationship-destroying mistakes men make. Mistakes that silently erode a woman's respect long before she ever walks away. These aren't random behaviors. They're psychological patterns. Patterns that turn love into labor, connection into corrosion, and men into servants inside their own relationships. But here's the good news. Every man deserves a reset, a clean slate, a moment to reclaim the leadership he lost without even noticing. If that's your goal, hit like, tap subscribe, and comment one word below. Rebuild. Write it as a promise to yourself. Because what you're about to hear isn't theory. It's a roadmap back to power, a roadmap back to you. Now, let's begin. Mistake number 1, mistaking love for labor. This is one of the most dangerous traps a man can fall into. Thinking the more he carries, the more valuable he becomes. You believe that fixing, providing, solving, and sacrificing prove your love. You think being exhausted makes you a hero. But here's the brutal psychological truth. Women don't respect exhaustion. They respect balance. Picture this. You handle the bills, the plans, the details, the emotional crisis, and she critiques, corrects, or scrolls on her phone while you burn yourself out trying to keep everything together. You keep hoping she'll finally notice your effort. She won't, not because she's cruel, but because you've conditioned her to receive, not contribute. This dynamic has a name: learned helplessness. When one person carries the load so consistently that the other stops even trying, you think you're being supportive, but you're actually erasing the need for her to ever step up. A relationship without mutual effort isn't partnership, it's emotional employment. And when you carry her responsibilities, you stop leading and you start serving. Two people should be rowing in rhythm. The second she drops her oar, the boat starts spinning in circles, and so does your peace. The moment a woman stops contributing, she stops respecting. And the moment she stops respecting, attraction dies. Hold on to this truth. If she won't build with you, she's not building a life. She's borrowing yours. Mistake number 2, trying to build with a woman still haunted by her past. Most men don't realize this mistake until they're already trapped. You meet her. She's charming, confident, and swears she knows what she wants. But slowly, her words start sounding familiar, like echoes from a past you never lived. Be more romantic. Be more dominant. Be more like. She never finishes the sentence, but the ghost is in her tone. What she's really saying is, recreate the men who left their mark on me. This isn't love. This is programming. Psychology teaches us that every deep emotional connection leaves a fingerprint. When a woman has had too many intense, painful, or chaotic relationships too fast, she becomes less impressionable. You can't teach her your rhythm because she's still dancing to someone else's beat. You start trying harder. You adjust. You overperform until one day you realize you've been auditioning for a role already played. Here's the painful truth. You cannot rewrite her past by performing better in her present. You are not her fresh start. You are her sequel, and sequels rarely end well. The right woman doesn't make you compete with her ghosts. She creates new memories with you, not recycled expectations from old wounds. Mistake number 3, buying peace at the price of your own respect. Every man who's ever loved deeply has done this. You swallow your words. You soften your truth. You agree just to keep things calm. You tell yourself it's maturity, self-control, emotional intelligence. But deep down, you know what it really is. Fear. Fear of conflict, fear of tension, fear of her reaction. You're not maintaining peace, you're buying silence. And every time you fold on your values just to avoid an argument, you make a silent trade. Her comfort in exchange for your respect. It's a losing deal every time, because women don't stop testing when you give in. They test more, not out of cruelty, but instinct. Psychologists call it dominance testing, the subconscious ritual of checking whether your softness still has strength behind it. Fail enough of these tests, and she stops seeing you as a partner and starts seeing you as a follower with good intentions. Women don't lose interest because men disagree. They lose interest because men dissolve. When you bend too much, you stop being a man with direction and start becoming a man who adjusts himself to avoid discomfort. You turn into something deadly to attraction. Predictable, passive, pleasant, but not powerful. True compromise isn't surrender, it's alignment. It's two people meeting in the middle without either person abandoning their identity. But when you are the only one bending, the relationship stops being balanced. It becomes a negotiation where your needs are always the discount item. Ask yourself right now, am I protecting peace or just avoiding tension? Because if it's the second, she may smile today, but attraction is already dying tomorrow. No woman can follow a man who has no boundaries to stand on. Mistake number 4, falling for a woman who worships one trait and neglects all others. Some women are magnetic in one area and hollow in the rest. You might meet a woman who prides herself on being so kind, but she neglects her appearance, her discipline, her mindset. Or she may look flawless on the outside, but emotionally she's starving, cold, unbalanced. Either way, imbalance is a silent killer. Most people build identity through something psychologists call selective validation. They take one trait that society rewards and they overdevelop it while neglecting everything else. So she convinces herself, I'm a good person, so discipline doesn't matter. Or, I'm beautiful, so effort doesn't matter. The result, a woman who is impressive in one dimension and underdeveloped in all others. You fall for her charm, her beauty, her energy, but you end up dating her imbalance. Healthy attraction is multidimensional: warmth, intelligence, physical connection, emotional regulation, shared discipline, respect. If even one of these is missing, polarity fades, chemistry fades. You stop being lovers and start becoming roommates. It's not because she's evil or lazy, it's because she's unbalanced. And imbalance always leaks into the relationship. A woman who only values part of herself will eventually only value part of you. Don't reward imbalance. Don't call it depth when it's really just neglect wearing perfume. The rare woman worth building with keeps herself whole mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Attraction doesn't disappear by accident. It dies slowly the moment balance does. Mistake number 5, believing boundaries make you controlling. This mistake destroys men quietly. You've been taught that setting boundaries makes you insecure, jealous, or controlling. So, what do? You stay silent when she keeps a circle of just friends who all conveniently happen to be men. Men who text late, compliment often, and wait silently for the first crack in your relationship. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Attention is a currency, and women know its value. Every message, every like, every "you look beautiful" gives her a dopamine hit, and the more she receives, the less she values yours. This isn't jealousy, it's neuroscience. Psychologists call it the external validation loop, where a person becomes addicted to attention as a substitute for internal worth. And when that happens, no matter how loyal you are, you'll always be competing with her audience. You'll give her love. They'll give her novelty. And novelty always wins when boundaries don't exist. Because here's the truth. You can't build intimacy in a room full of spectators. Every extra man in her emotional orbit dilutes your influence. What starts as harmless support turns into emotional triangulation. She begins comparing you to them, quoting their opinions, basing your value on their reactions. Respect fades not because she stops loving you, but because she starts entertaining too many options that keep her ego inflated and her standards scattered. Set boundaries early, not out of fear, but out of principle. Because if her attention is public, your relationship becomes public property. You don't need control. You need clarity. You need standards. You need self-respect. Boundaries don't cage a relationship. They protect the space where loyalty is supposed to live. Mistake number 6, staying in a relationship where nothing ever gets solved. Men don't stop caring because they're cold. They stop caring because they're exhausted. Not physically, emotionally. It always begins small. A few complaints here and there, then it grows. Suddenly, every conversation becomes a venting session with no structure, no clarity, no direction. You listen. You try to fix it. You offer solutions. You try to bring peace. But the same issues return like a boomerang you never threw. At first you think, she just wants to talk. But then you notice something darker. She doesn't want resolution. She wants release. This is a psychological phenomenon called emotional looping. When someone repeats the same frustration over and over without ever identifying a root cause for her, it provides a small hit of emotional relief, a temporary escape. But for you, it's emotional suffocation. You're not solving problems anymore. You're absorbing them. And men are wired differently. A man connects through purpose, through direction, through fixing things, resolving things, moving forward. But when there's no clear problem to solve, the male mind does something instinctive. It shuts down to protect itself. So you stop reacting. You stop engaging. You go quiet. Not because you don't care, but because you can't keep pouring energy into a bottomless pit. Meanwhile, she interprets your silence as disconnection, not realizing that she created the very behavior she resents. The longer this cycle continues, the weaker the bond becomes. Not because of lack of love, but because connection cannot exist without direction. You cannot repair noise. You can only step away from it. What you need is communication with intention, calm, focus, solutions, accountability, emotional discipline. And if she is unwilling to meet you there, you owe it to yourself to protect your peace. Love is not endless talking. Love is solving, growing, evolving. If every conversation ends in chaos, it's not a relationship. It's emotional clutter. And when the noise gets louder than the love, choose silence. Not to retreat, but to respect yourself. Mistake number 7, believing love can exist without respect. This mistake destroys men quietly, slowly, silently, like poison dripping through the cracks. Love without respect does not collapse in one explosion. It erodes you grain by grain, moment by moment, argument by argument. Every time you let her talk over you, mock your principles, minimize your efforts, or test your patience without consequences, a small piece of your self-worth dissolves. You tell yourself, she still loves me. And maybe she does. But here's the truth most men never hear. Love can coexist with disrespect, but attraction cannot. A woman can love you emotionally while no longer admiring you psychologically. Men often chase affection as if it's proof of value. You crave her warmth, her voice, her attention. You cling to her love even when her behavior shows something different. You ignore the absence of respect because the presence of love feels comforting. But here's the brutal reality. Respect is the spine of attraction. Without it, love collapses into chaos. In psychology, this is linked to dominance testing, the subconscious behavior where one partner pushes limits to see if the other still has backbone. And when you consistently forgive disrespect without enforcing boundaries, she stops believing in your strength. And once she loses that belief, attraction begins to rot. Not because she wants to hurt you, but because a woman cannot admire a man she can walk through emotionally. Deep down, every woman wants to feel the presence of stability. A man who stands firm even when emotions run high. A man she can trust, not just love. Ask yourself, does she follow your lead because she believes in you or because you never push back? There's a difference, a massive one. You don't demand respect, you demonstrate it, you enforce it, you embody it. The moment you stop tolerating disrespect disguised as passion, everything changes. Either she steps up or she steps out. Either way, you win because you finally chose yourself over her approval. Love can waver. Respect should never waver. It's your anchor, your spine, your standard. And once you reclaim it, the entire relationship transforms. Mistake number 8, erasing your life to fit into hers. This mistake is subtle, but it destroys men from the inside out. It begins with good intentions. She wants more time, more attention, more upgrades, and you want to provide it. So you start stretching, adjusting, rearranging your world piece by piece. At first, it feels like love, but slowly, quietly, you start rewriting your entire existence to fit into a reality she designed, not you. And the moment you do, you stop being the man she admired and become the man she manages. Many men fall into this trap when dating women whose lifestyles outpace their reality. Suddenly, you're buying clothes you don't need, driving a car you can't afford, eating at restaurants that drain your bank account. Not because you require that lifestyle, but because she does. It becomes the illusion of compatibility through consumption. But beneath the surface lies something darker: identity erosion. Psychologically, this is when a man's sense of self begins to dissolve as he attaches his value to what he can provide instead of who he is. And the irony, the more you give, the less she values it. Because abundance without boundaries doesn't breed gratitude. It breeds entitlement. She stops appreciating. She starts expecting, and you start diminishing. You no longer lead your life. You finance someone else's fantasy. But here's the real question. If everything stopped tomorrow, the money, the upgrades, the attention, would she stay? Would she stay if you lost the lifestyle and only had your strength, your principles, your character left? If the answer isn't clear, then it was never love. It was leverage, a transactional connection masquerading as romance. Because when a woman loves your lifestyle more than she loves your life, she's not with you. She's with the benefits package, and benefits run out. Interest fades. Upgrades get old. The right woman doesn't need you to speed up. She adjusts her pace. She walks beside you. The wrong woman will always measure love in luxury, never in loyalty. So ask yourself, are you building a life with her or financing the one she wants to display? Mistake number 9, falling for a woman who never truly stops dating. Some women don't stop dating, they just take breaks. You meet her during one of those breaks, between options, between upgrades, between improvements. She believes she deserves. She's magnetic, charming, intoxicating. She knows what she wants, or at least she knows what she thinks she deserves. But beneath that confidence lies a mindset shaped by comparison. She has been conditioned to believe that something better is always one conversation away. If you don't recognize this early, you will fall in love with a woman who is always halfway out the door. This behavior has a name: hypergamy. It's not evil, it's instinct. The drive to seek the best possible option, but when this instinct becomes unmanaged, it transforms into addiction. Comparison becomes her drug. New attention becomes her dopamine, and commitment feels dull compared to the thrill of being chosen again and again. Psychologically, this is dopamine dependency. Each new admirer resets her internal reward system, making stability feel like boredom and loyalty feel like limitation. You, no matter how loyal, grounded, or patient, cannot compete with her craving for the next emotional spike. You'll see it in the small details: the subtle flirting, the endless scrolling, the likes from strangers, the curious glances at her phone, the casual comments about what else is out there. She'll tell you she loves you, but her behavior will whisper the truth. She's still searching. And here's the dangerous part: she doesn't even realize she's doing it. It's automatic, conditioned, unexamined. You cannot outgive hypergamy. You cannot outperform it. You cannot convince it to settle. The only cure is self-awareness, and that must come from her, not you. So, stop trying to prove you're the best option. The right woman doesn't require convincing. She sees your value without comparison. She chooses you without scanning the room first. Because when a woman is done chasing upgrades, she stops chasing excitement and starts building legacy. Until then, you're not her future. You're her pause between chapters. Mistake your 10. Believing forgiveness rebuilds trust. This is one of the most dangerous illusions men fall for. A belief that forgiveness is strength, that moving on quickly makes you mature, that letting things slide makes you wise. But here's the brutal truth most men never admit to themselves. Forgiveness doesn't rebuild trust. It buries your self-respect. You think you're taking the high road. You think you're keeping the peace. You think you're showing emotional control. But in reality, you're teaching her something very different. There are no consequences for hurting me. And when consequences disappear, respect disappears right behind them. You can forgive her, but the mind never deletes the memory. It files it away quietly, slowly, like a wound you pretend isn't there. And each time it reopens, you bleed a little more. Forgiveness without accountability isn't healing. It's submission. It's avoidance coping. A psychological defense where you'd rather absorb pain than face the reality that something within the relationship is broken beyond your ability to fix. You'd rather bend than risk being alone. You'd rather excuse than confront. You'd rather tolerate than walk away. But understand this. Every time you choose the easy forgiveness, you make a small trade. You lose clarity. You lose conviction. You lose yourself. Once trust is broken, love doesn't go back to normal. It mutates. It becomes guarded, hesitant, transactional. You'll smile, but it will feel forced. You'll touch, but it will feel distant. You'll talk, but something deep inside you will feel hollow. Forgiveness only works when she rebuilds what she broke. If she's remorseful, she will fix the damage. If she's not, you're participating in your own decline. You can't heal in the same environment that scarred you. Sometimes the strongest move is not to stay and repair, but to leave and rebuild yourself. Because a man who forgives without standards doesn't restore peace. He surrenders leadership. And when a man gives up leadership, he doesn't lose her. He loses himself. Every man thinks he's the exception until he becomes the warning. You've now seen the 10 hidden assassins that quietly destroy relationships from the inside out. 10 patterns, 10 psychological traps, 10 mistakes that turn love into labor, respect into resentment, and men into shadows of the strength they once had. But here's the truth tying it all together. It was never about women. It was about you. About how much of yourself you were willing to trade away just to keep someone who was never meant to be kept. You don't lose women because they're complicated. You lose them because you forget who you are while trying to keep them comfortable. You stop leading. You stop setting boundaries. You start negotiating your worth. You shrink. You soften. You dissolve. Control doesn't vanish in one explosion. It slips away in 1,000 quiet concessions. The real danger in love isn't heartbreak. It's corrosion. The slow decay of masculine clarity. The erosion of identity. The silent betrayal you commit against yourself every time. You tolerate disrespect, imbalance, or manipulation. But here's the shift. You can choose differently starting now. You can rebuild from strength instead of scarcity. You can stop chasing connection and start commanding it. You can stop trying to be chosen and start becoming someone who chooses, because women don't destroy men. Weak standards do. When you demand respect before affection, cooperation before romance, accountability before forgiveness, everything changes. You stop walking on eggshells. You stop playing emotional defense. You stop acting like your worth is fragile or negotiable. You reclaim your peace. You rebuild your rhythm. You return to yourself. That's the kind of man women follow. Not because he's loud, but because he's grounded. Not because he controls, but because he leads. So if this message hit something inside you, if it woke up a part of you that's tired of giving without return, understand this. That's not anger. That's clarity. That's your standard waking up again. And when that happens, you're not losing anymore. You're learning how to win differently. If you felt this, move with intention. Subscribe. Share this with a man who needs to hear it, and stay close, because in the next video, we're breaking down how men rebuild trust after betrayal. Not from pain, but from power.